Welcome aboard, everybody. Let's crank that music on down. It is technically a Mentorship Monday, but it's on a Tuesday. So let's get right into it here tonight. We've got some big things on the docket here tonight. This will be lesson number 3. If you've not watched the previous videos, you want to make sure you go watch videos 1 and 2. Probably prior to this one, and of course, if you are new with us, make sure you smash that like button, follow us over here on Facebook, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube. Again, this will be lesson number 3, a little bit different here on these. We want to cut that music down and get right into the meat and heart of things. You need to learn what you need to be doing with the tool set, and of course getting right into how to activate and execute on your strategies. But making sure tonight, big things that we want to talk about are the big picture, making sure that you are in the proper direction based on what the market is currently doing. We need to take into account multiple time frames. That is a big key we're going to be talking about here tonight. I'm going to talk to you guys about a book by Alexander Elder that you need to be familiar with to know where some of these tactics come from, and know that we didn't just come up with those on our own. Let's come right down here and say hello to us over there. If we are, let's see, are we live right now? Let me check. Test. All right. So we just went live here a few minutes ago, so I'm sure we'll have some folks kind of popping in there with us. But if you guys have any problems hearing me, please do let me know. It does look like it says internet. There's some connectivity problems. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Barry. Okay, yeah, let's see if we can get some of that messaging cleared up off the top of there, and let's talk about some of these topics. So, multiple time frames is the first thing we want to be talking about. So before you're going to be executing your actual strategies themselves, remember, if you are over here in our Discord channel, the strategies, if you are studying along with us, you need to come right down here into the education section, and each of our strategies is listed. So we've got the two finger, the bat wing, Richie, bow tie, breezeway, breakout, bunny ears, confluence, harmonics, harmonidot, HMD, jackknife, etc. So all of these individual entries and the things that tie in together with those, everything that you're going to talk about, that we're going to talk about here tonight, is going to lead into, before you take the executions on those strategies, and these things need to apply. So that is kind of the big picture of where we're going here tonight. And of course, as you've chosen your strategy, apply what you learn here tonight into those. So what we have set up over here, this is our dev box and showing some of our latest tool sets. Thank you, Barry, for getting those off the screen for me. Appreciate that. I know it's a little bit different coming in here on a Tuesday. We had planned to do this on Monday night, and just some things occurred, so a little bit off. And I know that some people have different schedules and they come back and they're going to watch these later, and that's okay. But if you guys are here with us live, do participate with us. Makes things a lot more fun. Let me refresh my live spot. There we go. What's up, Matthias? Thank you for saying hello. All right, so I'm going to pause that over there. Let's see. There's something up with the stream here tonight. It's still saying loading on stream health. Usually I can tell if this is working right, but if you guys can hear me and see me okay, then I guess we are doing okay. But it's showing, I don't know, something's messed up there. Okay. So man, I hope we're not going to waste this recording. But all right, so let's move into some of these items here. Okay, so we are, if you launch your NinjaTrader with ALGOBOX installed for the first time, you should see these charts set up for you. Now, if you don't have your data feed set up, of course, go back to the other videos to get this set up. But once you're at this location, we're going to talk about what you should be looking at from here. So the book that I was talking about a minute ago is the book by Alexander Elder, and that is called Trade for a Living. I'm going to show you guys that here. Would recommend, I kind of like the audiobooks myself. Let's go here to maybe images. So yeah, if you are looking for the book that I'm talking about here, this beast right here, if we're talking about book recommendations, this is really the only external book that I recommend. I've got a couple of external seminars that I tell you guys to go take a peek at from third parties that will kind of enhance what I already teach you, but that is one right there that talks about what we call the triple screen setup. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about here tonight. Triple screen setup. And this has to do with multi-time frame. And I know a lot of people have, you know, even if you come from using time charts, like using the hourly chart and the 15-minute and the 5 minutes or the 1 minute to enter, that is sort of like this, but this is very specific in using 3 time frames that we call the tide, the wave, and the ripple, and we talk about things like water. Now, I know this is a little bit of a review from the previous videos here, but I just want to make sure that we are, as you come into this video, that we're kind of up to speed here. Tide, wave, and ripple. These are 3 time frames. For us on the tide, when you guys hear us talking about the tide, you should be thinking the 89 range. Always. For us, what we're using here, always going to be using the 89 range for our tide. For the wave, there we go. Looks like YouTube is kind of finally picking up there. It looks like it's got the right stats there for us now. On the wave, so this one is the little bit of a trick, but not really. This one here is adjustable though. This is what we're going to be doing for we're going to be getting our optimized range here. Okay, and this is going to be somewhere between 16 and 34 at this time. 16 to 34 range is what we optimize for. And I won't get into the details here tonight on what and how we do that. We talk about that a lot in other videos. And the ripple, this is our entry-level chart. And I'm going to say charts, plural, because we can have multiples there on entering in on those. Thank you, Mr. Riviera, or Rivier. Thank you very much. All right, so tide, wave, and ripple. 3 time frames. But we're also going to throw in another that is not from Alexander Elder's book. This is, again, this is straight out of the Elder kind of methodology there on the triple screen. However, we are going to add one more component that you guys are going to see here tonight, and we use the Mac-V. Now, what exactly is that? You're going to say, well, you're familiar with the MACD. It's pretty close to the same thing. We have a specific strategy that we use. That's why we call it the Mac-V. It's the Vinny alternative to that, and it's just a way that we remember and know what we're talking about here. So this will be one of those keys that here tonight you're going to kind of lock into understanding what we're looking at when we are trying to filter for our entries. Because at the end of the day, what's our job? Our job is to pick great entries that give us the opportunity to buy at one price and sell at a higher price, and in, you know, maybe in reverse order if we are shorting, but this is all we are. At the end of the day, we are just buyers and sellers. We are trading. You know, we talk about trading that, you know, everybody is trading in life. They're trading in their time for money. They are, if you are a business, you are always buying products to sell the product higher. You're adding value to it, and then you are selling it for a higher price. This is what we do in and out, in and out, in and out. In our inventory are the contracts that we trade. Last video, we talked about the Emini versus the micros versus the minis. You know, we've got this great opportunity now with the micros for people who do have those smaller accounts, that if you want to, even if you're practicing, it's a good place to kind of get your feet wet and really feel because, you know, some people like just don't think and feel that sim does enough for them. And so if you want to put something on the line, micros is a good place to start with that for putting on some risk and actually kind of feeling the monetary highs and lows of that as we go forward. Okay, so let's move into looking at exactly what those are. So here is our tide chart. You'll see this. Oops, need to go to yellow. So here's our tide chart up here. Tide. Here is our wave chart that, again, adjusts on a weekly basis. And here is that Mac-V. So right here is what we want to kind of focus in here tonight for the additional filter, because you might be familiar with some, you know, maybe using multiple time frames. But what we do with ours is also adding in, looking to the left to see what, like right before I'm about to enter, do I also have this lowest mid? It's kind of like a mid to low time frame right here going with me. It's also the final place that I'm going to be checking in on our new tool here called the Algo Matrix. So other things that we're going to add into the mix here tonight that you're going to understand how we use is that Algo Matrix. Again, we've had other videos on this, so I know people who have been around a while, you guys know what we're doing with this, but this is going to allow you to see the multiple time frames at a glance. We kind of had said that at some point, if somebody was on a laptop and traveling and wanted to execute. We don't really recommend doing that, but if you were in some scenario like that, this tool is very, very helpful because you could literally on a single screen be able to see exactly what the higher time frames are doing right now. Let's read some of this that's going in right now. Let's see if I can go. That's about as far as I can go in. Okay, so over here on the left, I'm going to go ahead and point this into green. Do you see the left two columns here are green? This one and this one on the algo matrix. Those two are green. This gets higher time frames on the left, lower time frames on the right. So as we get down this direction, we get smaller time frames progressing this way across the grid here. Okay, so highest time frames are here on the left. You can see 89 range, 55 range. Again, we talk about using the ranges that we use are going to be fib numbers. So top here, this is how this is being used internally. Okay, but as we can see right here, there is on the wave, we are starting a down move. And again, we're looking at NQ right now. And of course, this is after hours. And yeah, actually we are. I can tell right here that we are on a wave. Oops, you guys can't see that because it's behind my video here. But I'll show you that here in just a moment, that we are tapering down on some of this part. But we are, and we're red kind of across the board. But look here, we kind of start to see that little spark of green. We're going to talk about how we use this because as we know, price moves and fluctuates. You know, even if it's going up, sometimes there is a wave part, and this is the wave we think about. In a scenario like this, you can obviously tell whether you are using moving averages or lots of ways to determine trend. But if this is coming up, then we know that the tide is rising. As this whole thing moves up. However, what is the wave doing right now? If we're looking at this pink for price line here, this is coming down. So this is what we're talking about as far as the wave. So the wave leg right now, this is coming down. So in a scenario where we're looking up here, you can determine that very, very easily and quickly by just taking a picture here in your mind and going, oh, I can tell the higher time frames are rising, but right here in the mid right now, it looks like we've got some opportunities to maybe take some scalp shorts. And why do I say scalps? Anytime that we are going against the tide, folks, listen to me. We are trying to filter ourselves to get big trades with the rising tide, hopefully also with the rising wave, or catching the big moves are where we catch one of these waves coming down, then we catch a trap that's going to be set right here, and then we are looking to ride that wave big up on that next up move. Okay, this is why we want to trade our biggest trades along with the tide. Don't fight it. Okay, we're going to try to go with the tide, and at the same time though, can we take trades short in this area against the wave? Yes, but we should be looking for smaller trades. Okay, smaller risk, smaller rewards in this area. Don't take big risks to make small rewards. Okay, so reversing back here, if we're talking in a scenario like this, do I really, my main thing is I don't want to risk a whole lot, and I need to not set my expectations that, okay, well, a lot of retailers think, oh, well, this has gone up so far, now it's probably gonna, it must be time for it to come down. It is much less likely that somebody catches a big move on a turn down. This is much more difficult. So when you are starting out particularly, I want to make sure we're kind of putting training wheels on you, and the rules that I am giving to you are going to, help you in almost every facet, every different type of market condition. Just in general, follow these rules and you'll find yourself on the right side of the trend. You'll find your ability to make your profits and remain profitable if you follow some of these rules that I'm talking about now. Okay, so we are going to be trying to trade big trades in the direction of the tide. In fact, if you want to filter all of your trades, just go, I am always going to trade in the direction of the tide. Now, for me, I don't believe that in the future, as you gain more experience points, when you have spent your time in the charts, that over time, you are going to be able to supersede that and be able to go ahead and take advantage of these small little turns. Find the traps up in this area. Take it down to the short side up top. They find a trap up here. Take it down for a little bit. And then on the bottom side, we see it the other side. But then you want to load up. As you start to get something pulling in and you've got a trap set down below, we catch a J hook to the long side, or one of our other strategies like that, that we've got our ducks in a row, we've got things aligned in our favor, probabilities up on our side, and we want to ride that position. And of course, with our big trades, I'm teaching you guys the half on, half off add to get those big trades that you learn in your final 40 days of our program. Okay, so tide, wave, and of course into the ripple. If there are any questions around that, let me back up here for a second, just check with the crew here. So if you guys are understanding that so far, type me a 1. If there's some questions around that, it's a little bit confusing, type me a 2. Just want to make sure that everybody is kind of coming along with us on that. Okay, so the way that this works around, and I'm saying around because I like to think of the way that you're going to move your eyes around these charts. We are kind of going from top to bottom like this. Whoops, let's try this. So let's do another color here. Let's take our yellow. So I'm starting up here. I want to know where the tide is going. I'm going to move my eyes down. I'm going to be checking with the wave. Okay, do I have the tide and the wave going with me? Great, you guys got it, awesome. Then I'm going to be moving right here. This is my kind of final filter. Kind of picture that this is the reason I aligned this like this. And again, you guys can arrange your charts how you want. At the end of the day, you know, I want to teach you it this way, and I think you'll have success with this. Although later on, when you get better at this and you want to adjust your charts, I think of this as sort of the final filter on the MACV right here. That I'm pushing my final filter before I decide, because remember, our final decision point comes here on our entry charts, which are our ripples, right? Now, you'll notice I have 2 ripples here. We are looking at 2 different time frames, sometimes even up to 3. So we've got sometimes, depending on how fast the markets are going, I may be on the algo bar singles, the algo bar 2s, the algo bar 5s, and 8s. But typically it's going to be 2s, 5s, and 8s. So let me write those down to you for the ripple chart. If you're setting up your ripple charts, and if you've got more screen real estate, remember, everything I'm doing right here is for those of you guys who have just a single screen, 1080p. That's why I'm using it on this dev box, because obviously, you know, when you've got more, in our scenarios, more is more here, and it's good. But here we go. So for ripple charts, what I'm usually looking to have is the 2s, the 5s, and the 8s. Okay. And if you don't know what we're talking about right now, that's okay. You should learn later. If you guys understand what this is on the ripple charts, 2, 5, and 8, if you know what that means, type me a 1. If you don't, type me a 2, because I'll go into a little bit more detail on that. I know there's probably some new folks here, but these are not range bars. Remember, these are the algo bars, but these are the settings for those lower time frames. And in a scenario where I've only got 2 charts, like in our default setup, okay, in a default setup here, I am only going to have these 2 here. Okay, I'm going to have the 2s and the 5s. Or alternatively, talk about the alternate here. Let's go back to yellow, T. So the alternate to this is I'm going to have the 1, the 3, and the 5. Okay. So this can be depending on market speed. If the market is moving very, very fast, I'm staying up here. And again, this is the safer zone here. 2s, 5s, and 8s, kind of the safer area. But when the market's kind of slow down a little bit, you know, in general, I'm trying to maintain my settings here at 1s, 3s, and 5s for things, especially like that's anything that's not NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ, I still will do the ones oftentimes because I want to see that extra flow, especially now that we've got Flowmaster. Really changes things. What's up, Remo? Good to have you aboard, my friend. Okay, so it sounds like you guys are kind of following along with that. I don't see any 2s on that. You guys get what those are going to be, what those settings should be. Make sure, again, along the way here, while we're doing these here tonight, I always recommend take some screenshots of our video right now so that you've got these in your notes. Because later on, everybody's like, oh, what were those settings again? Man, just take a screenshot, you know, keep them in your own folders. And if some of you guys wouldn't mind helping us out and dropping us over in our trade journal notes section here, taking those screenshots, putting those into the trade journal notes in our room. And if you guys want to know about that, let me just hit on that real quick. Come over here to our trade journal notes in the education section. Mr. Barry last time did a great job of posting in a lot of the screenshots from the first, the second video. Here are the screenshots from the first video of things that you need to remember. Things like looking at your risk management items, stuff that I typed on the board. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing, etc. Of course, micros versus macros. We talked about a lot of things. So make sure you guys go back and watch those videos. But the trade journal notes should be there in our room. And of course, take your own. It actually helps you. Every time you take a screenshot, you're actually imprinting an image on your mind. And our minds are very, very good at recognizing patterns as well as remembering things that we have seen. So do yourself a favor and take those good notes. With the screenshots will help you out immensely. So as we're moving into the final filter on the MACV, so how do we use the MACV as a final filter? I think everybody gets the point around, okay, tide, yeah, I get it, wave, there's 2 time frames. So what's up with the filter, the final filter here on the MACV? Like, how do I use the MACV? So let's zoom into this chart and what we call kind of our final decision point on when or if I'm going to be looking long or short in a scenario where most of the time, let's say that you've got a scenario where, well, you've got the tide up. In fact, this is a perfect scenario to zoom in on right here. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a scenario here where I've got the tide is up, but the wave is down, isn't it? Now, you notice it's sort of semi-neutral, okay, because in the middle, what do we got? It's kind of orange. Okay, so pay attention to the orange color, and you do see that right here in the middle. So you kind of gotta watch this. Remember, this is a moving matrix. So you gotta kind of take snapshots in your mind as you're watching this. If you're gonna use this tool, you can really master this tool and get a lot out of this tool. But in this kind of scenario here, you've got 2 things going on, okay? Now we wrote the TWO here, but think about it. You got 2 things. And when you got 2 things in conflict, I've got things telling me up, I got things telling me down. Remember, what's more powerful, the tide or the wave? Obviously the tide, right? You know, a wave can be coming down, but it doesn't matter. As it's coming down, the tide can still be rising. So what's stronger? The tide, okay? The tide is still gonna be stronger than the wave. So I really wanna respect that. Just always make sure at least you gotta have respect for the way that we're going with the tide, okay? However, are you just gonna then discount the fact that we're going red? No, and here's why. When you're coming down to this final decision point of whether or not I'm going to be looking long or short, if I were going to be one of these players where I'm starting to get myself into that next level where I can play both directions no matter what market conditions are coming at me, I want to know what else can help me in my decision-making process. And this is where I use the MACV as one of my final filters before I'm going to make the decision on the Ripple chart. And I look at the MACV chart, and it's as simple as this. I am looking to the left. So you'll hear me say this in some videos. You'll hear me saying this in, there's like a little 4-minute video prep in the morning that says, look to the left. Look to the left, okay? And when I say this, this is exactly what I'm looking at, okay? Because it's pretty easy to get where the tide is going, where the wave is going. You figure those out, but like right now, you're like, but I have to make this decision right now. Simple. Look to the left. So here's my current price over here. So if I'm going to use my eyeballs here, and I'm going to look to the left, okay, what am I looking at? Right here. The MACV filter is a vertical colored line that will either be green or red. Okay, it's as simple as that. This vertical line, let me see if I get about orange here. Okay, you see this? This vertical line, this is my final filter. Oops. Mac-V, if I could type right here. Final filter and it's the vertical line. Vertical color for the final filter. You guys got that? Okay, so my final filter is the vertical line color right here. So I am, in this moment, I've got the tide rising, and it's even better because I've got the tide with me here. So right now, if you were to ask me, well, Vinny, which way are you looking right now? You could have probably look at my own charts. Oops, I don't know why I typed that. Control Z. All right, yellow, T. All right. So what is going to be my decision right here? I am looking for a long. Okay, because I've got two things. I got the tide rising. Okay, I've got the wave coming down. Right, but right now, look at my filter. My filter here is green. Now, you might ask though, so what do I do if it's all red? Okay, what if I've got the tide red and I've got the wave red? And then I got this filter. Well, this is real simple. Don't we know that this is going to be stronger? Like, these two things are so important, okay? This is where it comes back down to that whole order of operations. I'm telling you guys things that you need to think about in order and in order of importance. It is more important that you have the tide and the wave settled in, okay? Tide and wave. If these are both red, does this green filter mean anything? The answer should be no, okay? If it is in conflict with the tide and the wave, forget it. This is no longer part of your decision-making process. You should wait until this also coincides with and goes along with what the tide and the wave go. So just wait for it to come back. Like if this comes back and we get a red, like this one right over here, this is, again, you guys can see that, I'm sure. So we get that red, then awesome. Okay, you guys following this? If you guys understand that, type me a 1. If you kind of disagree or you got a question around that, type me a 2, and then we will move on. But this is how I'm making my decisions as I am floating my eyeballs in the kind of moving around my charts. I'm looking at the tide, the wave, the MACV filter, then I'm making my decision on the ripple. Simple like that, right? Tide, wave, ripple, filter, enter. Bam. Okay, remember, these things have to happen quickly. Speaking of quickly, I posted a video last night. I know, I talk about Battlefield, and some people kind of, troll me on that and be like, well, Battlefield, why do you play games and whatnot? Go check out this video by our good friend Tom Dante, awesome trading mentor out there, very well known in the trading community. Let's see, that was last night because I could not, here we go. So I could not do Mentorship Monday last night, dealing with some stuff, but here is what I posted for you guys. Go back and watch this one. And this was entitled 3 Games to Test Your Trading Skills. Okay. Now, there are certain things that you need to be able to be very quick and reactive to some of the stuff. And again, it's not that you absolutely have to, but if you want to make the difference between, sort of that whole quick and the dead, it's not necessarily like that. It's not a scenario like that where it's quick and the dead, but the person who's going to make the most profits and getting into those positions and can make those decisions quicker and more accurately is going to lead to a bigger set of profitability, bigger the size of the P&L. Okay, but go check this one out. I'll just give a quick hit on some of these. So he's doing some tests here. There were some math tests. So watch him run this one. Okay. I'm going to move this red block around. Okay, so this is one where you're moving through, these blocks are moving, they start to move faster and faster, and the goal is to try to not let the blue blocks touch your red, and he's moving this around with his mouse. Okay. It's actually harder than it fucking looks. So he's zooming in here. Look how fast they're moving now, right? See, I'm quite skilled at it. Fuck. Always happens. Right when you think you got it, you get wrecked. So this was one that he did, and then there was another set of tests. This is pretty neat. So this one is actually testing your reaction time. In this video, let me see if I can move this down. You're just gonna have to deal with it. All right. So reaction time right here to see how fast you can react, like within milliseconds. Like let's say that you see a green pop up or you get our green dot showing up, that your reaction time can matter. So, some little games around that. again, me for Battlefield. Now this was a really interesting one where he started having phone calls with brokers and trying to make a decision like right then and there. So you got a broker telling you one thing, you got a news event coming in, and then you've got some additional pieces of information, and then your goal at the end of this is to rush you to make a decision. Okay, how fast are you at making the decision? So what I try to do with our tool set is make that easy, right? Because some of this stuff is hard. Like I'll tell you right now, when it's like, well, I got a broker telling me one thing, I need to digest the news. Let me think about that. And then I'm looking at some technicals on the charts. We don't have to deal with that. That's the beautiful thing about ALGOBOX. What we do is just let the tools do the work, like we say around here. But anyhow, go watch that video. You guys will enjoy that one. Give Tom a shout out for us as well. And let's move back down to quick little plug here. Those of you guys, it's February. We open up gold seats in February. You know, right now during the year, most of the time we do not have seats. We have to limit that so that we're not influencing our edge or reducing our edge by having too many people enter in the same locations, especially on our thinner markets. But we do have seats opening up here in February at the beginning of the year, as we always do. And of course, if you guys get in on February 1st or 2nd, you're getting an extra $500 off. So while we're scrolling through that, so the game stuff, you need to be able to make these decisions quickly. But you guys can see how quickly you can make that decision. You got 3 things to think about. Tide, boom, got it. Wave, boom, got it. Filter, pow. You see how quickly you can move through that decision-making process? This is what you should be practicing. Tide, pow, wave, pow. Filter, pow. Okay, I'm looking for a green. Boom, you see that? So now I can focus in on zooming into my charts right here, okay? So now that I already have made my decision, I filtered through, I got my decision, I'm looking for a green. Here are a couple ways that I would be playing this if I'm looking for a long. Okay, my next long setup, I can tell right here, you see the 50 cent? Okay, I've got a 50 cent harmonic structural setup. Remember last time in our last video I talked about you need to have structure before you start to enter in on a ripple. So what's my structure? I want, in this case, it's going to be a harmonic structure that looks like a 50 cent, okay? Which is a little bit odd pattern. The thing is going to look something like this, like this, like this, and it can end right here. How can I tell that? Because you see that gold box right there? This is another advantage, something that ALGOBOX does that no other product can do for you out there, is to be able to predict where this PRZ is going to be. Now I can do several things with that. If I did want to scalp this short and I got a red dot somewhere up in here for some reason, I could take this scalp short and I could target this box here. But we know that because I've already got my filter in head and I am looking for a long for my confluence, bias, okay? My confluence bias, I am biased to the long side. I'm looking for a long. I really want to get this to the long side pretty hardcore. So if I'm gonna scalp this short, it's gonna be less risk, and I'm gonna be putting in, more, I'm gonna go heavier on my long position than I am the short. And of course, this box is gonna tell you how much risk you're gonna take, right? This is not very much risk at all, right? You're talking about maybe 1 or 2 ticks. Like your stop's going to be right underneath this box. Where's our entry? We're going to be entering in right here on that line inside the PRZ. Where's our stop? So if we break this bottom box, we know that this is not the play that we want, because we want on a 50 cent for this to immediately react and come in as price comes in, bam, 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 bam. We want something like this coming off of that 50 cent. However, if this comes down, starts to break, something like this number, we're looking out, we don't want to be part of that, so where's our stop? All right. Again, we're always prepared to be wrong, and I don't even like to use the word wrong, because people think that they're wrong all the time. It's not wrong. It's not about being wrong or right. It's just, this is not the trade happening right now, okay? Your probabilities are strong that I'm going to get that nice long here. When it hits, remember this is going from yellow, when it hits right here, this whole thing will turn green. Okay, you'll see this box will turn green. You'll know this is the time to enter on this. We're entering, bam, right here, and we want to take this up into the long side on this spot right here because we've made our decision, right? We've got our tide, we've got our wave, we've got our filter, bam, bam. All I got to do is focus right here. Isn't that nice? Isn't that awesome? Again, this is how we play the video game of the markets with ALGOBOX. Okay, so we talked about our tide wave ripple filter, daily trend. Now, you might want to say, well, what about this longs favorable here? Okay, well, that also adds to it. One of my my first things we ever do is I tell you, like, if you really want to just like you guys who get stuck on sides, just never trade against this. This is a great filter for, again, this is kind of training wheels. Later on, you're going to be able to trade against this, okay? But initially, man, if you're a new trader, particularly, or coming into our program, just follow this right here. If it's telling you longs favorable, just don't go against that, okay? Like, even if you're like, oh, but I got all these things setting me up for a short right here. If that says longs favorable, pass on it, okay? Or if you want to swing at it with a sim account. Don't put your live money against longs favorable. That is detrimental to your health, okay? This is the daily trend filter. Now, I'm going to talk to you tonight about a little bit of advanced topic around this favorable thing on when this is going to be more questionable than others. We got some thunderstorms coming out here. So this is important, but when am I going to trade against this? When is this less reliable? Okay, there is a time of day, a particular set of time of day when this is a little less reliable. Okay, this is particularly in the morning. Let's talk about dividing up the day by time. Okay, everybody who's been through my program, you guys should know this. Write this one down. I'm just going to hit this one in this lesson. Again, we're going to talk about a lot of things here tonight. This will be one of our final long videos. The rest of the videos will be quite short and to the point as we get into the actual strategies themselves. Okay, 10:10 to 10:30 on a daily basis is our no trade zone. Okay, we kind of call the danger zone. We post this in our room every time that this comes in, so you guys know that all off the top. But what happens prior to this? Okay, so let's divide up the day. So let's do this. So let's say that this is our timeline of the day. And let's do some blue for the morning. So before you got your coffee in the morning, let's look at our time frame. I should do that in yellow. All right, so let's put some times up here. Let's say that the start of our day is 7 a.m. And again, these are going to be Eastern time. And pretty close to that, we'll have our 8. And so then coming over this way, we've got let's do our 9:30 open. Probably right here. And right over here, we are going to have pretty close to this. Let's do our 10:30. Okay, and then kind of come over here to our 12 noon Eastern time. Then we're going to have our 2 o'clock, and all the way to our 4. And then we have our after hours. All right, these are EST. All right, so I know we're all over the place with those, but that's what we're doing on the fly. But the important part of this is to break your day into into these sections, and I'm going to talk about the sections where that favorable direction, you're really going to have to use other things besides just the favorable direction, and why that triple filter that I just kind of showed you guys is extremely important. But areas where you might want to question that longs favorable, shorts favorable area, particularly in the morning. If you're struggling in the morning sessions are, they can be there. It's got its advantages, it's got its pros, it's got its cons. Okay, I particularly, you guys know this. This is you guys heard me say this all the time. This 2 to 4 zone, I mean, this is my sweetheart over here. I like the 2 to 4 session because I kind of get to see how the day developed. I look to see what the volumes have done. I see what the morning did. I see what the afternoon did. I can see what the daily bar is forming as. I've got a lot of information already gathered up on the day, and I know kind of how people react at the end of the day and end of sessions. So I like the 2 to 4. Now, that's not everybody can trade the 2 to 4 because of their work schedules or whatever, but that's an advantage to me that I like to do the 2 to 4. However, in the mornings, the favorable direction is less reliable. Okay, it's a lot trickier here in the morning session. Okay, favorable direction, less reliable. Need to use the triple filter / algo matrix to determine bias. Okay, be very careful here in the morning. Where does that section end? Right about 11 o'clock. So let's do a blue box around this whole section. To right about the 11 is going to be somewhere right around here. Okay, now what typically happens right here, this is another piece we talked about even just recently. There is a very big key of something that happens right here. Okay, and what is it? Often we will see the big reversal at this time of day. So what do I mean by the big reversal? This is, we're looking for a trap move. And we look for the J hook. Okay, these should be part of your notes. This is some of our biggest trades. If you're catching that 11 o'clock spot right there, okay, somewhere between 11 and, yes, it does. Yes, that's a good one. Bid even. Yeah, 90 bid even. Yes, it does coincide with the European close, which is at 11:30, right? So this 11 to, so where I'm going with this, I don't mean exactly at 11. So let's give it a zone. Okay, some of your biggest trades, if you are looking to catch one of these big ones, and we'll refer back to this. So let's say that you've got your 5 trades in the morning that you have done well. You've won all 5 trades. Okay, now we want to, yeah, the flexion point. Yes, exactly. So we want to maybe try to go for a boom and a crusher trade on that 6-shooter strategy there for our 6th trade for that bonus trade. This is maybe the spot that I want to look to load up. Okay, one that we're really going to catch the beast somewhere between 11 and 12:30. Let's see, it would be right about here. Okay. Beast mode trade. Okay, somewhere in here, this is, and we'll also refer to this because oftentimes we refer to this as bonus. So let me just put that in there as well. Okay, this is your bonus trade. This is the one where it's like, okay, I'm gonna try to swing for the fences here. If this is the time frame that we've got the morning folks kind of rocked out, we've got, there's all kinds of things that happen there. One day we'll digest an entire day, like what this breaks down to, but just know our rules for now, that this is a spot where we're going to be looking for that big reversal. We'll talk about later on maybe why we've gone to, at length at that in the past, but for right now, just this is a good diagram to have for yourself. Print these out, put it on your screen later. Okay, so beast mode here, we're looking for the big boss, right, somewhere in this area, and getting that continuation into the 2 o'clock. Let's go with a little bit of yellow here. Okay, so our next zone is through the 2 o'clock, and really I'm looking at 220. Okay, because I'm looking for another major shake around the 220 area. So you kind of got this kind of coincides with the 1010 in the morning. You'll kind of hear me refer to this as the 220 reversal is like the 1010 in the morning. Okay, so the 220, there's that little limbo area. So 1010, 220 in the afternoon, and I'm looking to try to take some of my first trades really at around 230 or 240 is where I'm usually trying to take my first set of trades. So I'm going to put in my own zone here. Running out of colors here, but let's taste the rainbow. All right, so right here is where I'm trying to take my first sets of trades. The bond market close, let's see. I know that crude oil closes at 230. I don't know if the bond market closes. Can somebody confirm on that? But yeah, you put a question mark. Tell me definitively whether or not that's when the bond market closes. I do not follow the bonds much at all. I call those the snoozers. They start with the Z for a reason, because they put you to sleep. Too slow. I don't know about 220. I know that crude oil closes at 230. Okay, and I don't know that that plays too much unless you're a crude oil trader specifically, but 230, there is that. But just know I'm breaking down the day for what you need to know. You can go and look up the why if you like on why this might be, but just know that these are what we're looking for as far as that goes. Make sense? So let's see. I'm looking for my first trade. My first afternoon trades. It's not going to fit in here. Trades. All right, my first trades the afternoon. There we go. Crayola style. You are welcome. All right, so my first trades. This is kind of where in the afternoon I want to be taking my just first normal, like, okay, let me look at what the day's developed like. I'm looking at the day. Now, hopefully I've crushed a bonus. I'm always kind of looking right here if my schedule works in the morning, that I'm trying to find that beast mode trade somewhere in here. Okay, and if I catch that, awesome. I may still be riding that position. If we turn into a trend day, and we're talking about like a full trend day, you guys know the ones where the candle is just solid green or solid red on that day. I want to be trying to catch that, but often in the morning, it'll make that big move down. So we get a tail, whatever that tail bar is going to be, and then boom, we get the rest of the growth that has happened quite a lot, particularly in this big up move market. With that beast mode. And then here is where I'm kind of trying to start to go, okay, so now normal trading, what I call normal trading, turning on ALGOBOX, ready to go. Whether I'm turning on my full auto system at this time, whether I am doing augmented trading, which is what majority of my stuff is, where I'm running full auto and I am executing my manual discretionary to either override one of those positions, reverse one of those positions as a position doesn't work. You guys have seen me do that in a lot of videos. Okay, but this is where I'm starting that position. I'm riding through into the 4 p.m. close. And of course we have lucky sevens. Let's go back to our blue color here and let's do this. Pretty close to the end. We've got well, we've got several things that come into the end of the day. Let's just do type out everything that happens here end of the day. I hope you guys can read blue. I'm thinking it'll be okay. So let's try it. Okay, end of day, what are we looking for? So we got BTFD at 3:30. Okay. And we've got our lucky sevens. Let me do that. Caps, because that is an actual thing. Lucky sevens trade. Ride final trade into the close. Okay. Questions around that? Uh-oh. So YouTube is dropped off again. Can I get a mic check? Type me a 1 if you guys can still hear me. Type me a 2 if you can't. That's funny. Just type me a 1 if you guys can still hear me all right. Looks like YouTube just dropped off stats again for some reason on the live stream. But let me know if you guys can, if we're still connected here. Okay, so let's digest what we've got here. Okay, take a screenshot. This is sort of our kind of final layout here. Don't have much else. Not going to be putting much on here other than maybe doing some check marks, stuff like that. Okay, so here is what we're looking at. So first part of the day, addressing favorable, a little bit more difficult. Okay, good. You guys can hear us? Fantastic. All right, going to need to use that triple filter more in the morning. You really need to use it all the time, okay? But when I know a lot of people are like, well, I waited until the favorable direction thing and I really just didn't have the favorable direction going with me, so I didn't take the trade. Well, in the morning, that's less reliable. So you're going to need to, use those other tactics that we just talked about. Beast mode trade, you guys got that. If you guys got any questions around this before I go to the next slide, type them in the room here and I'll try to address those right now. Because at the final thing, I'm going to talk about your timing before you get into the trade. We're only at 50 minutes here. We'll round out the last 10 minutes talking about the final timing of that entry here at the end and some of the platinum tools that allow us to do that. However, you can also do it manually. That might be a good map to reduce excessive trading. Yes, so especially early in your career, we are trying to reduce that. Remember, here's one. This is sort of putting on training wheels. Again, I talk about training wheels. Training wheels allow you to ride a bike safely, right? My 8-year-old daughter, putting her on training wheels, goes out there riding a bike. She knows how to ride a bike now, so I should back up. Between the ages of somewhere in that 6 and 7, where we start putting her on a bike with training wheels. She could still go on bike rides with us, right? Like, we're out there riding, we're going down the trails and stuff. She's got her training wheels on, so, she can keep up with daddy and we're going down the trails. It's awesome, right? Now, do I need training wheels? No. Can I, do, jumps off of crazy stuff and land it and whatnot? Yeah. Is she going to do that? Probably not, right? So some of these things that we've got for you guys are just to kind of keep you safe in the game. You could still press forward. Are you going to be able to do all the crazy tricks and stuff? Not yet. You'll develop that over time. As you keep training and riding with your training wheels, you'll become more and more comfortable with one day taking off those training wheels, breaking out past 5 trades in the morning, 5 trades in the afternoon, right? And then you can really start to own it when you understand things like what I just did right here. You're not going to know this or learn this stuff, just, and even me writing it down right now, this is like me trying to teach you how to swim without throwing you in the water. Right? You need to teach you the strokes, teach you what to do. But when you get in the water, now I got to put you in there and you need to actually do it yourself and feel it, right? Feel it out. But at the end of the day, ALGOBOX makes a lot of this much, much easier. Okay. I didn't see any other questions specifically around this map, so you guys kind of got this. I'll be referring back to this as far as times of days and whatnot. And the Lucky Sevens trade, there is going to be a specific video on this. So if you're wondering what that is, final 7-minute trade of the day. 1010, we already talked about that, and Algo Matrix, awesome. So there we go. Let's move into next area. Let's see, here we go. Is there anything you've noticed in the Asian session, like you've noticed during the day, flexion point, etc., etc.? Okay, you know what? That's a good question. Let's go ahead and break that out. He's talking about the Asian session, so into the evening. I do not recommend, first of all, before we say this, okay, I do not recommend any new traders doing what I'm about to tell you about right now. Okay, so let's draw up that first warning, okay? For the training wheels, I do not recommend for new traders to trade the Asian, European session, US overnight. Okay, I'm just telling you this. Okay, so with that caveat being said, right up front, okay, but if you are going to be trading the afternoon or the evening session, okay, so this opens up at 6 p.m. Let's do this, T. 6 p.m. Again, all these are Eastern times. And the times that we care about, let's do this as midnight here. And let's do this as the 6 a.m. Okay. And right here, let's do the 3 a.m. is important. And that's about it. Okay. So this is the gold star. This is if you're going to trade, if you want to, whatever, if you got a sleep schedule thing or you're working a night shift or you're doing something weird like this is your starting point right here for the best. Okay, in my opinion. Now, this is one man's opinion. Feel free. I'd love to hear some other people's opinions on this because, like, when we get into the evening session stuff, this starts to get real relative because for me, I really don't want to be trading the overnight session unless there are specific things. Here are scenarios where I would be looking to trade overnight. Okay. Scenarios. The Bank of Japan is reporting. And it will be I'd like to change colors here, but red star. Red star, news event, planned after hours. This thing can be like 10 p.m., it could be 11 p.m., it could be, in the wee hours of the morning. But if the Bank of Japan is going to be reporting on something that's going to be, it's sort of like their version of the Fed, okay? This is going to be a big one. Other things, major news events of some type. Okay, so I'm not specific on it, but it can be any type of major news. Macro event. Yes, missile launches, Remels, that's a good one. Market moving event / news. Okay. Are there others? Just if the market for whatever reason became violent, maybe the Fed FOMC day, right? Like FOMC day might have some carry through into the evenings. So you would want to plan this around that. Other days, if you're going to choose days of the week, Wednesdays and Thursdays are times you might want to look here for this, okay? Wednesday, Thursdays, you're going to be looking for this to occur. Why? You got the FOMC stuff coming in, right? You got the FOMC news. You've got crude oil inventories on Wednesdays. Thursdays, you've got the payroll numbers in the morning. You've got the consumer reports. You've got Friday the next morning of non-farm payrolls coming out. Well, actually, usually that's on Thursday, but the you guys know the other morning red star news events that come out on Friday. So the nights overnight, again, you're not going to do Friday night, right? You're not going to do an overnight Friday night, but the evening of Wednesday, the Thursday evenings, these are the days that I'll be looking to do those. I really wouldn't even touch overnight stuff on Monday and Tuesday, okay? And of course, obviously Friday, markets are closed. So this is how you would be, if you were going to. Again, I'm doing this with a big caveat there. If you were going to, these are scenarios where you're going to do it. Now, why the 3 a.m.? So this is the crossover point of the Asian and European session. Okay, why do you get a lot of volatility right here? Okay, volatility naturally comes in at the Asian close plus European open. Okay, so you get this crossover point of people trying to close out their trades. It's the morning open for the European session, the Asian close. So this is a crossover point there. So it's a good spot to be looking there at around the 3 a.m. time frame. Okay. Sometimes you get a little movement here directly at midnight. I don't know if that's a technical thing or not, but if you're going to be looking for another little shake, there tends to be like a little bit of a oomph move. Sometimes there can be a reversal play right here at midnight. These are the only really two plays in the evening hours that you're going to be doing it, with those exceptions of if you have these scenarios. What is the circle one? It's not the shift. Oh, it's a tab. Okay, if you have these scenarios, then maybe you play this area. Okay, maybe. But why not just still, with those scenarios, play things in your favor so that you get that extra volatility. You know that more volatility equals bigger P&L generally for our systems. Okay, questions around the overnight session? Hope you guys got this. Take a screenshot and put this somewhere. If you are going to be trading the overnight session, just remember these things. This should be able to kind of memory peg you into things that you need to think about if you're trading overnight. Okay. There we go. Final thing we want to talk about. We've got about 2 minutes for timing. Now I'm going to switch over to, this is our platinum. This, and let's go ahead and connect. File, connect. Go to my kinetic data feed. And so once we've already got our filters, we got our tide, we got our wave, we've got our MACV filter, final filter, and then we are looking for our entry. Now then, what is the final thing that I want on a trade? And we want timing, timing, timing. I know we've talked about this in other videos, and we'll do more detail on this in the future, but final thing, timing, SMLK, right? Let's see. This is a very, very small time frame here. You know, let's see. I'm not gonna pause this right here, but let's just zoom in. You see the pink lines, right? The pink is the most powerful zone. Let's do right here. So the pink verticals. The lines I'm referring to are these 4 little groupings right here. NinjaTrader 7 right now. Yes, bit even. NinjaTrader 7. Stable beast.
Alert.
And we've just got too much to convert. We will be converting that this year, but at this time, yes, NinjaTrader 7. Okay, I got alerts going off all over the place. Market must be moving like crazy in the overnight session here. Okay, so this little set here, this is the small, medium, large, king. Right? You guys know these things. This should be, you should know this by heart by now, that you guys have been following along with us, but you'll always hear me refer them so gracefully as SMLK, right? And I'll say SMLK, SMLK, SMLK. All right, so SMLK, small, medium, large, king size, small, medium, large, king size. King on the new system is pink, okay? Look at the pink crossover right here. The biggest moves come off of the king, don't they? Look at that. Look at this one. Pretty big, right? All of these, and again, this is just showing you on the fly without, you know, no filters. This is like that hashtag no filter thing. If you were to literally just take pivot points around a small or a king, I'm sorry, a large or a king, you'll see this over and over and over again. We teach a very specific strategy called the Darvas box crossover, and you'll learn that in a future video. We are going to go into specific details on those, but this is our final video. This is lesson number 3 on getting into the details of understanding our filtering, making sure we understand our multi-time frames, how we use it with ALGOBOX, so we just let ALGOBOX tell us directionally what I'm looking for, because at the end of the day, this is just a video game. You're only making 2 choices at the end. It is pick my direction and what time am I going to get in. That's it. Okay, 2 things. Once you've got all the filters, okay, your final decision is, bam, am I going to get in right now? And then, of course, managing the position once you're in.
Alert.
But our system does that for you as well. Now, again, I said the pink was the biggest pivot, was I not? Look, all I'm doing is going over here and looking. Can you see the pink pivot?
If
you guys see the power of the pink, type me a 1. If you don't see the power of the pink, type me a 2. I'm kind of curious, like, do you guys see it? If you just took the pivot at or near a king, do you see just by itself how powerful that is? Why the timing matters. And remember, timing is small, medium, large, king. And okay, I gotta turn off that sound. Holy shnikes. Shh. You're going off like crazy right now because markets are getting nuts after hours. Okay, so these are the full auto platinums. These are already being drawn for me. Now, don't sweat it if you're not in platinum. That's okay. You can do these manually. I teach you guys how to do that. We'll teach that in another video. But if you guys who are in platinum, look, folks, these are already there for you. Now, I want to show you something else. What's awesome about timing. Do you see where the pink is out here? Right? You're like, well, Vinny, I'm sure that's hindsight, right? No. I am projecting for you into the future where the best opportunity is to wreck this trade, right? So where is it going to be? Right here. See the pink line out here? So if we wait and see, watch this move, you know, we don't really know. Like the market could do this, we could do this, we don't know. But then when we get to this line, I want to look for something. Again, now I'm not just trading off the pivot. I still want to see something line up in that area. I want to see a formation structure. I want to see a harmonic structure. I want to see one of our dot entries with a multi-confluence in that area. But if it lands on a king, I'm going to size up and get a bigger position, right? So we're projecting into the future, and that's where we expect to see something of a bigger move coming here. Now, does that mean I can't take the smaller moves in between? No. But what we're trying to do is line up confluence for ourselves. Never trade anything alone. Let me make sure I covered all my notes. Trade nothing alone. We talked about that. Build that confluence. I was going to maybe do a Bollinger Banded example. How much time we got? We're at an hour. Now I'll save that for another video. Okay, that's it. I think we have covered everything. If you guys have any other questions, pop those over the chat box. Of course, at the end of any of these, head on over to our Discord channel. And inside of Discord on the left, a lot of menus on the left. And there is an Ask Vinny Questions section. So if you didn't get your question answered or you think about a question later, where is that Ask Vinny Questions? Is it in public? There it is. Right here. Ask Vinny Questions section. It could be anything. Somebody asked me about Trump the other day. I answered that one too. But try to keep them to trading questions you guys want to see me answer in video format. So that is the Ask Vinny Questions section right there. Matthew says, shall we additional measure impulse leg or structure or dots? It might get crowded. Haha! Yes, indeed, Matthias. Your job is not done. I'm just showing that the very first part is make sure you have some timing line, and there are things that you can measure. I'll do a whole separate video on what needs to be measured, and you have seen our videos before. You know what we measure, right? We measure Darvas boxes. We measure structures like a harmonic. We measure a dot formation, which is a fib Elliott. We measure the impulse leg, which is what you're talking about there. And you're saying crowded. Well, that's up. I mean, do you think the computer's crowded? Do you think the computer gets confused? No. But you need to visualize that. And yes, if yours is crowded, buy a bigger screen. All right, folks, that is it. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to send it off right here for me, Pippi, Robbie, Lunchbot, Mod Squad, Curtis G, and the rest of the gang. I'm sending out that big H-Town. See ya.